Have you ever followed all the advice, pulled back, stayed mysterious, stopped texting first, and still nothing? He doesn't miss you. He doesn't chase. And instead of drawing him closer, it feels like you just disappeared from his world entirely. Here's the truth. No one's telling you. Most of the advice out there is based on surface-level tactics that only work in the short term, if at all. Telling you to act busy or wait 3 days to respond doesn't create real emotional impact. It creates confusion, or worse, indifference. So why does that advice fail? Because men don't miss what they can't feel. And if you're not activating the right emotions, if you're not leaving behind an emotional imprint, then no amount of silence or distance will make a difference. But when you understand how to tap into his psychological triggers, the ones wired into his brain through biology and experience, that's when everything changes. In this video, I'm not going to give you recycled rules or outdated dating games. I'm going to show you exactly how to shift your energy, your presence, and your communication in a way that naturally makes a man crave you. Not because you're unavailable, but because you're unforgettable. If you're tired of pretending, guessing, and hoping he'll notice your absence, stay with me, because I'm going to teach you how to become the woman he can't stop thinking about. Let's begin. So what's the real reason a man starts missing you? Not just occasionally thinking about you, but truly feeling your absence like a void he needs to fill. It's not how attractive you are. It's not how often you text him. It's not even how much time you've spent together. The real trigger, the thing that makes a man emotionally crave you, is something called emotional contrast. It's a powerful psychological effect where someone experiences an intense emotional high with you and then feels a sudden absence of it. That gap creates longing, and longing is what makes him miss you. Think about it. People don't miss constant noise. They miss meaningful silence. They don't miss generic company. They miss someone who made them feel something specific. Men are emotional beings, even if they don't always show it. And when you give him an experience that activates parts of himself he doesn't access with anyone else, when you make him feel more alive, more respected, more desired, more inspired, that's what sticks. That's what echoes when you're gone. But here's what most people do wrong. They give everything up front. Constant communication, constant validation. They're always available. That creates emotional neutrality. There's no contrast, no rise and fall, no space for him to notice what he's missing. And without that space, his mind doesn't chase. Emotional contrast means showing up in full presence, then stepping back. Not in a cold or manipulative way, but with intentionality. Create moments that are emotionally deep, unique, or even fun and spontaneous, and then allow silence. That contrast forces him to replay what just happened. It plants emotional hooks. It's not about withholding affection. It's about strategic presence, being the woman who offers rare energy, not constant availability. When you're no longer around, and that emotional contrast sets in, he'll start comparing everything else to you, and nothing will feel the same. This is how you become unforgettable. Not through pressure, not through games, but by giving him an experience of you that his emotional memory wants back. In the next section, I'll walk you through how to use emotional space and timing, not just to make him miss you, but to make him take action. So what actually happens in a man's mind when you disappear? It's easy to assume he just moves on, gets distracted, or forgets. But that's not what really goes on beneath the surface, especially if you've already created a meaningful emotional connection with him. Even if it was subtle, when you suddenly remove your presence, your energy, your attention, your voice, it doesn't just vanish into thin air. It leaves behind something powerful, emotional residue. This is what lingers. It's not always conscious, but it's deeply felt. At first he may not react. He might even act unaffected. But internally, his mind begins searching for the stimulus that's now missing. It's the same psychological mechanism triggered when you lose access to something you've grown used to, especially if it once made you feel good. Here's what most women don't realize. When you stop showing up, his brain doesn't immediately label it as she's gone. It labels it as something's off. That confusion creates curiosity, and curiosity creates mental engagement. He starts wondering, did something happen? Is she losing interest? Is she moving on? He replays recent moments, searching for clues. That reflection, even if subtle, is exactly where the emotional reattachment begins. And if he's been emotionally invested, even just a little, the silence doesn't just confuse him, it disorients him. Because whether he's conscious of it or not, men are conditioned to notice absence more than presence. They often take emotional presence for granted, until it's removed. Then their mind zooms in on what's missing, trying to reconstruct what used to be there. And here's where it gets even more interesting. The longer you're silent, the more his idealized memory of you begins to take over. Your quirks become charming. Your words feel more impactful. Even small moments grow in emotional weight. Because without new input, the mind fills in gaps with emotionally charged memory. And that can be more powerful than anything you say or do. But this only works if your presence before you disappeared had emotional weight. If all he experienced was predictability or people-pleasing, your silence might just feel like relief. But if your energy was vibrant, rare, grounded, the kind that left him feeling more like himself when he was around you, then your absence becomes a trigger, a pull. Disappearing doesn't create distance. It creates depth. If the emotional imprint is there, he starts scrolling through old texts. He replays your laugh. He imagines running into you again, and he may not even know why. But what he's really missing is how he felt in your presence. That's what makes him come back. Not logic, not guilt, not even attraction alone. It's emotional dissonance, the gap between what he used to feel and what he can't find anymore. Coming up next, how to intentionally create that gap and make him crave the reconnection. Creating emotional gaps isn't about going silent and hoping he notices. It's about creating space that makes him feel the absence of something meaningful. And the key word here is feel. So how do you actually do that? It starts by giving him depth before you give him distance. Most women go quiet too early. They pull back without ever having left an emotional fingerprint. The result? He doesn't feel a gap. He feels a pause. And that's forgettable. To create an emotional gap that pulls him in, you need to understand this. Men don't chase mystery alone. They chase emotionally triggering mystery. In other words, when he experiences something with you that feels rare, exciting, grounding, or even just different from what he's used to, and then that experience disappears, his mind becomes obsessed with restoring it. So here's what to do. Start creating micro moments that catch him emotionally off guard in a good way. Say something he wasn't expecting, like, "You know what I like about you? You're actually present when you talk." That's subtle but specific. It tells him you see a version of him that he probably doesn't show to many people. That moment lands emotionally. Now here's the powerful part. Once you drop that kind of moment, pull back, not in a dramatic, manipulative way. You simply allow space. You go live your life. You stop over-communicating. You don't rush to fill the silence. What that does is trigger emotional tension. The same kind that makes people rewatch scenes in a movie just to feel something again. You're not ghosting. You're giving him a taste of emotional depth, and then letting the silence remind him what it felt like. Another way to create emotional gaps is by interrupting patterns. If you've been texting him every morning, stop. If you're always the one reacting or replying instantly, slow down. That change in rhythm wakes up his emotional awareness. He starts thinking, wait, something's different. That's where the gap opens. That's when his attention re-engages. The more emotionally rich your presence is, the more valuable your absence becomes. But here's what makes this work long-term. You're not doing this to manipulate. You're doing it to reset the imbalance. If you're always emotionally available, he never has a chance to miss you, never has a reason to reflect, never has space to initiate. The emotional gap pulls him in, not because you're being distant, but because you've created emotional contrast, and you're giving him space to feel it. That's what gets a man out of autopilot. That's what makes him reach out, lean in, and stay curious about you. In the next section, I'll give you exact text strategies that re-spark his emotional focus and make him associate you with something he doesn't want to lose. Texting is one of the fastest ways to build obsession, or kill it. And most people get this wrong. Not because they're saying the wrong things, but because they're saying too much, too soon, with no emotional rhythm. If you want your text to spark obsession, you need to stop thinking like someone who's trying to stay relevant and start thinking like someone who knows their energy is addictive. So let's flip the script. Instead of asking basic check-in questions like, how was your day? Or what are you up to? Send something that catches his nervous system off guard in a good way. You want to interrupt his mental pattern. Here's an example. I just remembered something you said the other night, and it hit me different today. That one line triggers instant curiosity. Now he's wondering, what did I say? What did she think about it? Did it mean something? That's how obsession starts, not with attention, but with emotional uncertainty that he wants to resolve. Another strategy: use imagery, not generic compliments. Try this. You have this energy like you've lived 1,000 lives and still somehow stayed soft. That kind of text hits him below the surface. It's not about flirting, it's about making him feel seen. And men become addicted to being seen in ways the world never offers them. Then there's timing. Don't always respond right away. Don't match his energy, lead it. If he sends a dry "what's up," don't match it with a dry reply. Instead, send something unexpected. Just realizing, I'm the kind of woman who doesn't chase, but always gets remembered. No emoji, no follow-up. Let that line breathe. He'll reread it. Trust me. And if he disappears or pulls back, don't double text, ever. Instead, send this a day later. You have a funny way of disappearing. I almost thought you were a ghost in my contacts. It's playful, it's aware, and it puts the mirror up without neediness. That's how you shift the power, without saying you're trying to. What matters most is the feeling your texts leave behind. Make him laugh when he's stressed. Make him pause when he expects routine. Make him remember you at random moments in the day. That's how you create an emotional anchor. A loop in his brain where he starts checking his phone, hoping it's you, wondering what you'll say next. It's not about being available. It's about being emotionally magnetic through mystery, wit, warmth, and timing. Coming up, if you're in no contact or a breakup zone, I'll show you exactly what to do next. So you don't just make him miss you, you make him realize losing you was a mistake. So you're in no contact. Maybe you initiated it. Maybe he ghosted. Maybe it just fizzled out. But now you're in that emotionally charged space where the silence feels loud and the question running through your mind is, what now? Let's be clear. No contact isn't a punishment. It's not a strategy to make him suffer or a countdown until you can text him again. It's a reset, but only if you use it the right way. The most important thing to understand is that no contact only works if your silence carries weight. If all you do during this time is obsess over him, stalk his social media, and wait for a text, you're still emotionally available. And whether he knows it consciously or not, he can feel that. Energetically, you're still in the room with him. The goal of no contact isn't just to make him miss you, it's to shift the emotional dynamic. It's to let the dust settle so the emotional contrast we talked about earlier can actually take hold. So here's what you need to do while in no contact. You rebuild mystery. You go silent not just physically but emotionally. That means no cryptic stories aimed at him, no secondhand messages through mutual friends, no accidental run-ins. You become a blank space. Why? Because people fill in blanks with their own thoughts, and that's more powerful than anything you could post or say. Second, you evolve. The version of you that he last interacted with, she's gone. When and if he comes back around, he should feel like he's re-meeting someone new, someone he has to earn again. That doesn't mean changing who you are. It means rising back into your power. New routines, new energy, new boundaries. Because that version of you, that's the one who's unforgettable. And finally, you don't break. The power of no contact lies in consistency. The moment you reach out just because you're lonely or anxious, you reset the whole game. He doesn't feel the loss. He doesn't question his decisions. He doesn't reattach emotionally, because the gap wasn't wide enough to miss you through. So if he hasn't reached out yet, good. Let that space expand. Let the silence work for you. Because if there was real emotion there, even buried under ego or confusion, that gap will pull him in. But if you chase, he'll just keep running. No contact isn't about waiting, it's about becoming. So when the door opens again, whether he knocks or you choose someone new, you're not the same woman who watched him walk away. Next up, how to stay present in his mind during this time, without saying a single word. Here's something most people don't tell you. You can stay in a man's thoughts without texting, calling, or posting thirst traps. In fact, the most powerful way to stay in his head is through the one channel that never shuts off, his emotional memory. You don't need to chase attention, you need to leave emotional fingerprints, subtle, specific, unforgettable. Here's how. First, leverage the power of pattern disruption. When someone becomes used to your presence, your voice, your energy, your availability, the brain starts filtering you out like background noise. But when you disappear after creating a distinct emotional experience, his brain notices that break in the pattern causes an internal search response. Why do I feel something's missing? That subtle question creates space for you to live in his mental loop without doing anything. Second, anchor yourself in a moment he didn't fully process. Think back. Did you ever say something that made him pause? Did you have a moment of eye contact, silence, or humor that felt heavier than it looked on the surface? Men revisit those things, especially in quiet moments, late at night, during a drive, right before sleep. That's when the emotional residue becomes loud, and the more emotionally charged the memory, the more likely it is to repeat. Third, scent, sound, and song. If you ever wore a distinct fragrance, played a certain song in his presence, or said something with rhythm, that sensory detail gets coded. Scent and sound are directly tied to the emotional centers of the brain. He could be walking through a crowd, smell something vaguely familiar, and suddenly, a lyric plays in his car, and he's instantly back in that moment with you. That's not manipulation. That's psychology. You're not chasing, you're embedded. Here's another subtle but powerful method. Don't correct his assumptions. Let him wonder. If he thinks you've moved on, let him. If he thinks you're unbothered, perfect. The moment he feels uncertain about how you feel, is the moment he starts feeling again. That emotional ambiguity breeds curiosity. And curiosity keeps you in his head. Also hold your silence with grace. Don't overshare online. Don't try to show off how happy you are. True emotional impact is quiet. It's the silence he can't figure out, the emotional tension he starts trying to solve. And the more he tries to solve it, the more you stay front and center in his thoughts. The truth is, obsession isn't built on words. It's built on echoes of how he felt around you and how different life feels without you. Coming up next, how to shift the entire dynamic so you're no longer the one hoping he sees your worth. He's the one trying to prove he deserves another shot. One of the biggest traps in relationships is falling into the role of the chaser. The one who always texts first, worries about being too available, and constantly wonders if he's thinking about you. That energy keeps you stuck in a loop where your worth feels tied to his attention. But here's the truth. Real power comes from shifting your energy, from chaser to chooser. So what does that mean? Being a chooser means you take your power back. You decide who deserves your time, your attention, and your love. You're no longer running after someone to prove your value. You're confidently deciding if he meets your standards. That shift isn't about arrogance. It's about self-respect. It's about showing up as a woman who knows what she deserves and won't settle for less. When you embody chooser energy, you change the entire dynamic. You stop reacting to his mood swings or his availability. Instead, you respond on your terms. This subtle shift sends a clear message. You're emotionally independent, and your happiness doesn't depend on his validation. And that independence, it's magnetic. Here's how to start shifting your energy today. First, set clear boundaries, emotional and physical. Decide what you will and won't tolerate, and stick to it. If he cancels plans or goes silent, don't scramble to fill the void. Respect yourself enough to step back and wait for someone who respects your time. Second, cultivate your own life outside of him. Pursue hobbies, goals, and friendships that light you up. When your world is full and vibrant, you naturally radiate confidence and mystery. That's irresistible. Third, practice selective communication. Don't rush to answer every message or explain yourself constantly. Let him wonder a little. When you respond thoughtfully, with intention, you create value around your presence. Most importantly, work on your mindset. Remind yourself daily, you are enough. You don't need his approval to feel whole. When you truly believe this, it shows in your energy, your actions, your aura. And here's the kicker. Men are wired to pursue what they can't have easily. When you're the chooser, you're no longer easy to chase. That challenges him to step up or step aside. And guess what? The right man will rise to meet your energy. Shifting from chaser to chooser isn't a one-time move. It's a lifestyle. It's choosing yourself, your peace, your joy, every single day. Up next, how to build lasting attraction that keeps him coming back. No chasing required. Attraction feels like magic, but it's fragile. And the truth is, there are simple mistakes that can destroy it faster than you think. The problem, most people don't realize they're making these mistakes until it's too late. One of the biggest attraction killers is desperation. When you come across as needy or constantly seeking approval, it sends a signal that you don't value yourself enough. And that's a turnoff. Confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about showing you're comfortable in your own skin, even when things aren't perfect. Another huge mistake is over-communication. Bombarding him with texts, calls, or messages, especially when you don't get the same energy back, creates imbalance. Instead of making you feel closer, it pushes him away because it feels like pressure. Remember, attraction thrives on space and mystery, not on constant availability. Trying to change yourself to fit what you think he wants. That's a fast way to kill attraction. Authenticity is magnetic. If you suppress your true self, you're building the relationship on a foundation that won't last. Men may be attracted initially, but when the real you shows up, as she always does, the connection feels off. Another mistake is ignoring your boundaries. When you let someone walk over you, cancel plans last minute, or disrespect your time and feelings, it sends a message that you accept less than you deserve. That lack of self-respect diminishes attraction. Setting and maintaining boundaries isn't just healthy, it's essential for keeping desire alive. Also, don't fall into the trap of over-analyzing every little thing he says or does. When you obsess over interpreting his every move, it creates anxiety and often leads to misreading the situation. That stress leaks into your energy and makes you less appealing. Trust your intuition, but don't let your mind run wild with assumptions. Finally, losing your sense of humor and playfulness can kill attraction quickly. Relationships aren't just about serious talks and heavy emotions. The spark often comes from light moments, shared laughter, and fun. When you get too serious or overly intense, it can feel draining instead of magnetic. The good news, these mistakes are avoidable. The key is awareness, knowing what to watch for, and making small adjustments that protect your energy and your worth. Attraction isn't complicated. It's about balance, showing up as your best authentic self while respecting your own needs and giving the other person space to want more. In the last part of this video, I'll share how to wrap all these insights into a simple daily mindset shift that transforms how he sees you and makes him want to stay. We've covered a lot today, from understanding what really happens in his mind when you disappear, to creating emotional gaps that pull him in, texting strategies that spark obsession, and shifting your energy from chaser to chooser. Now, as we wrap up, let me share some final thoughts and pro tips that tie it all together and set you up for lasting success. First, remember this. Making a man miss you isn't about playing games or manipulating feelings. It's about creating real emotional value and holding space for that connection to grow, naturally and powerfully. When you master this, you're not just making him miss you, you're making him want to be with the real, vibrant you. One of the most important things to keep in mind is to own your worth every step of the way. Your time, energy, and attention are your most valuable currency. When you invest them wisely, with intention and boundaries, you automatically raise your value in his eyes. That's magnetic. Another pro tip is to stay unpredictable in your consistency. What does that mean? It means showing up as your best self regularly, but not in the same way every time. Mix warmth with mystery. Be present and engaged, but also allow space for him to wander and chase. That dynamic creates the emotional roller coaster that keeps attraction alive. Also, don't forget to prioritize your own growth. The more you evolve, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, the more you radiate confidence and authenticity. That growth isn't just good for your own happiness. It's the foundation for any healthy relationship. Lastly, be patient and trust the process. Attraction and emotional connection don't always happen overnight, but when you focus on these principles consistently, you create a powerful pull that's hard to resist. Keep your energy high, your boundaries firm, and your intentions clear. If you take nothing else from this video, take this: you are worthy of love that's effortless, passionate, and lasting. When you show up as your true self with confidence and clarity, you don't chase love, you attract it. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with anyone who needs to hear this. Drop a comment below with your biggest takeaway or any questions. I read every one of them. Stay empowered, stay magnetic, and I'll see you in the next video. As we wrap up, I want you to take a moment and really internalize this. Being the woman he can't forget isn't about tricks, games, or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about stepping fully into your power and becoming the most authentic, confident, and magnetic version of yourself. When you embrace who you truly are, flaws and all, you create an energy that's irresistible. This kind of presence isn't something you force or fake. It comes from genuine self-love, clear boundaries, and a deep understanding of your worth. Think about it. The women men remember aren't always the ones who chased the hardest or tried the most. They're the ones who carried themselves with quiet confidence, who knew when to show up and when to step back, who had a life full of passion and purpose beyond the relationship. So how do you become that woman? It starts with mindset. Believe that you are enough right now, not when you lose a few pounds, not when you land that job, not when he texts back. You are enough in this moment. When you live from that place of certainty, your energy shifts, and that's what he notices first. Next, nurture your emotional independence. This doesn't mean shutting him out or playing hard to get. It means having a full, rich life where you're emotionally self-sufficient and don't rely on his attention to feel whole. That emotional freedom creates space for real attraction because it shows you value yourself above all else. Keep setting boundaries that protect your energy. Don't settle for less than respect, kindness, and genuine interest. When you honor your boundaries, you teach him how to treat you, and that lesson is unforgettable. Lastly, keep cultivating your passions and your joy. Whether it's a hobby, your career, or spending time with friends and family, living your best life naturally pulls him in. People want to be part of someone's happiness, not their desperation. Remember, the goal isn't just to be missed, it's to be wanted, valued, and chosen because of who you are at your core. Thank you for spending this time with me. If you're ready to be the woman he can't forget, start today, own your power, live your truth, and watch how everything shifts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below with your thoughts or questions. I'm here to support you every step of the way. Stay radiant, stay unstoppable, and until next time, be unforgettable.